I'm Melissa Swinehart from Tri-State G&T in Westminster, Colorado. Welcome to Along Those Lines.
Looking for a way to stand out in the broadband industry? Pivot helps organizations find and celebrate what makes them unique. As the leading marketing and CX agency, they help you tell a story that wins hearts and market share. Visit AskPivot.com to get started.
Hi, everyone. This is a podcast about electric cooperatives, the work they do, and the challenges they face. I'm Erin Kelly, guest hosting for Scott Hoffman. More and more rural school districts are buying electric school buses, thanks in part to new federal funding created by the bipartisan infrastructure law. For co-ops that serve these districts, what are the opportunities and challenges posed by this new demand for electricity? We'll hear from NRECA's Regulatory Affairs Director, Stephanie Crawford, from Bradley Cherry, President and CEO of Grayson Rural Electric Cooperative Corporation in Kentucky, and Travis Mathis, Manager of Member Services and Government Relations at Lewis County Rural Electric Cooperative in Missouri. Stephanie, Bradley, and Travis, welcome to the podcast. We'll start with Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So electric school buses are increasingly coming to rural areas served by electric co-ops. Can you tell us a bit about the federal funding that is helping to make that possible?
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really this Clean School Bus program that was funded out of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act in 2021. And this program's being managed by the Environmental Protection Agency, and it's a $5 billion program, $5 billion over 5 years, with half of the funding being dedicated to zero emission buses and half to low or zero emission buses.
Do you have a general idea at this point how many buses have been awarded to school districts that are being served by co-ops?
Well, the information we have estimates about 1,500 or so clean school buses have been awarded to electric cooperative service territories to date.
Wow, that's a lot. What do you see as the opportunities for co-ops with this new demand for electricity?
Well, really, I think it's a great opportunity for co-ops to deepen their relationships with an important segment of their membership, the school districts. They're already known as trusted energy advisors in their communities. This is a great program to help them deepen that, and they can really step up and help their school districts understand electric school buses. They're just at the beginning of this journey, and they can help them with understanding everything from, what are the buses they have currently that are eligible for replacement in this program based on their age and some other factors, but also what are the charging needs that the buses they may be awarded would need, and help keep surprises to a minimum too. What are the costs that might be associated with needing to deploy charging infrastructure for these buses?
So it sounds like you're saying that co-ops should get involved really early in the process with their school districts.
Absolutely. We think that more proactive communication with the school districts is going to be key for success here. The next round of the program is expected to be a grant program rather than a rebate program, the way the first round was conducted. And so we're hopeful to see EPA require, or at least suggest, quite a lot of proactive communication with their utilities as part of the grant application process.
Is this an opportunity for a lot of new revenue for co-ops?
Well, it could be new load, certainly. And I would say that more importantly, school buses have a pretty predictable schedule. We know when they're going to need to be charged overnight. They have the potential to serve as grid assets for cooperatives in terms of providing resilience in the event of an outage. If you think about potentially being able to use buses parked overnight to power critical infrastructure or healthcare facilities and similar for a period of time during an outage, there's some potential opportunity there.
So basically, like they're like batteries on wheels, right?
Yes, that's what we're hoping.
That's great. What we talked a little bit about the opportunities that they bring, but what about the challenges? What challenges do you see for co-ops that serve these buses?
Well, in some cases, the awards to each school district are rather large. We're seeing on the order of 20 to 25 buses per school district. And so, if a school district receives that many buses, that could mean some significant grid side investments are needed to charge those buses. And so, communicating about the costs associated with that with the cooperative upfront or with the school district upfront is really important. Helping them understand that comparing their traditional fueling and O&M costs with now what their electric bill will look like, helping them to understand that this is really a paradigm shift for how they're planning their transportation costs. They can help them work through that.
So it sounds like in some cases, this is not going to be a gradual thing because of these grants. They could be going from 0 to 24 school buses overnight, right?
Yes, we're seeing that with a couple of districts. And so certainly there's a learning curve there. That's where we think the cooperatives can really help. We think they should be proactive with their school districts to avoid surprises later on. They should, keep a database of their schools that are served by their co-op with the points of contact there up to date and ready to go. So as they receive resources about these programs, they can get that out to their contacts very quickly.
That's great advice. What is there any other advice that you would give to co-ops as they prepare to serve these school districts with these electric school buses?
I would say just know who the folks are at your co-op that you want to be able to put the school districts in contact quickly. This may be different folks, whether it's a planning engineer to go out to the site and look at potential charging needs. It could be more of a communications or a member relations type person too that can have the, are EVs right for me type of conversation with the school district. It really depends on where they are in the journey, but we think that the co-op can serve an important role here.
Great. What resources can NRECA provide for our member co-ops?
Well, we're developing a lot of resources now as these funding opportunities are being developed and coming out. And first step, I would say, is to consider joining our EV consortium. So this is known as CAVE, or the Cooperatives Accelerating Vehicle Electrification. This is a great place to share information amongst cooperatives that are getting experience with electric school buses and serving that load. We also have an EV professional community on cooperative.com. Both of these places are where members share information with each other and where we're sending out information. So as we develop resources such as communications tools and webinars, other reports that would be helpful, we're really making sure that those places have those resources very quickly.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thanks so much, Erin.
Let's pause here for a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we'll talk to Bradley and Travis about their co-op's experiences providing power for electric school buses.
Have you ventured into broadband? If so, you've probably heard everyone touting their cutting-edge technology and speeds. But what truly sets you apart? 2 words: your story. As the broadband industry's leading marketing and CX agency, Pivot helps organizations find and celebrate what makes them unique. They get to know you, the communities you serve, and help you tell a story that wins hearts and market share. Because everyone loves a good story and every brand has one. Let's tell yours together. Visit AskPivot.com to get started.
I'm Tony McCullough from Upshur Rural Electric Co-op in Northeast Texas. You're listening to Along Those Lines.
Welcome back. Hi, Bradley and Travis. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. Bradley, let's start with you. Your co-op is about to go from serving no electric school buses to serving 23. How did that happen, and what are you doing to prepare for it?
Yes, ma'am. Again, thank you for having us on today. Just a little background with the process. It was a federal government grant through the EPA. It was awarded through the state of Kentucky. The school systems in the state kind of applied and set forth a number of buses that they would like to see replaced. and Carter County, one of the counties that we serve, put in for 23 buses and actually received 23 buses. I received a phone call one afternoon from our statewide association, our president, Chris Perry, just kind of giving us a heads up because the state really wanted to make this work, and just to give us a heads up so we could start working with them. Later on that afternoon, I gave a phone call to our school district in Carter County. They had received the news. They were very shocked because they were expecting 2 or 3, and they ended up receiving 23. So with that, we just kind of started some communications there, some brief conversations. Later that next week, we got together, we sat down, kind of talked. They have some strict guidelines that they have to follow through the grant process. And we just want to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to assist them, talking with them, making sure that they can meet these deadlines.
Great. Travis, your co-op helped bring the first electric school bus to your service territory back in 2020. By this fall, you're going to have 11 of those buses. What did you learn from that first school bus that has helped you get ready for more?
Well, we helped bring the very first electric school bus to the state of Missouri. And I'll just tell you, it all was a brainchild that came up over a dinner that one of the local school superintendents and I were having. I had just started driving a Chevy Bolt every day as my company car. And we went to lunch. We're talking about that Bolt. And I said to him in a joking manner, well, why don't we see about getting you an electric school bus? And the rest is history. Since then, that school district took the bull by the horns and started checking to see what sort of funding there was available. And in 2020, we actually were able to get a Lion electric bus here for other districts to tour from across the state of Missouri and actually touch and feel. And we've gone from one bus now to, by the end of the year, we'll have 11. And I'll tell you, the charging infrastructure, we've learned a lot of things along the way. Number one, the best thing and best advice I can tell you is if you're a district out there or you're an electric co-op that's thinking about bringing an electric bus, you've got to have the buy-in from those school bus drivers. And I think the smartest thing that we've done is actually hold open houses and let school bus drivers from other districts come in, touch, feel, drive, ride on the bus, and the same thing with the school boards, because automatically when they hear an electric vehicle, many of them don't want anything to do with it. And what we found is after we got them in those buses, their attitudes changed completely.
Okay, gotcha. Bradley, what do you see as the opportunities and the challenges that electric school buses will bring to your co-op? And do you expect the increased revenue to be greater than any increased cost you might have?
I think some of the biggest challenges that we face in our area, especially in our district and our part of the state, this is kind of a new concept. There are so many unknowns with this. Electric vehicles, there's not a very big saturation in our area right now with those. So the knowledge and the understanding, kind of what Travis said, the important parts of it is lacking in our area. So, we've taken a lot of time and a lot of opportunities. We've met with the transportation director at the school system. We've met with the contractors that they're using, the suppliers. We're trying to gain an understanding so that we can take that knowledge and pass it on to all those individuals that may need it. There's been multiple changes within this project because of those unknowns. What size charging stations do we need? Our school district spans over 410 square miles of the county. We have 2 high schools and several elementary and 2 middle schools that are spread on the east and west side of our county. So we serve the west side of the county, and IOU serves the east side of the county. So we're having to work with them as well as they're putting charging stations throughout the county, and to work with them, work with everyone to make sure that this works. But also with those challenges, we have all these opportunities. It gives us a chance to learn, a chance to see what is an electric vehicle, what's it going to do to our system. We can create some type of load profile so that as it becomes more saturated in our area, how's that going to affect us? What do we need to do? How can we prepare our members and prepare our co-op to face these challenges in the future? But it also allows us to partner with our local community to help promote electric vehicles. It's an emerging technology. It has some significant benefits. So this project allows us to kind of partner with them, has the spotlight on it, so that way it gets out to our members, gets out to our communities, and they see it. They can ask questions, and again, we're just prepared for the future. As far as increased revenue goes, the costs are very minimal to us. Luckily, a lot of where they're planning to put charging stations, especially for us, are near existing facilities that require minor upgrades to it. So while there are some costs for us in it, we anticipate that the revenue over time will take care of those costs, but also too just the benefits of the experience that we're gaining from this project outweigh all of those costs.
That's great. Travis, you told me that these electric school buses are a real godsend to your small Missouri community, that you haven't had a lot of economic growth there. What have these buses meant for your co op and your members?
Well, I'll just tell you, Aaron, here in Northeast Missouri, where we're located, we're a small rural co op with about 7,000 meters. I've been at the co op for about 24 years, and I can tell you our growth is stagnant over that 24-year period. So we look at economic development a little differently here in rural Missouri than a lot of other cooperatives do. I don't have a single solitary stoplight, McDonald's, or big box store within my service territory. You've got to go outside the service territory to see any of those things. So when we look at school buses, for every 3 to 4 school buses that we can add to our electric system, that's like adding a small subdivision in our area. So when you think of 11 school buses, you'd per se say we've added 3 small residential subdivisions to our area. And we've been able to work with these school districts and develop special rates if they will charge those buses at night from 10 to 6 a.m., from 10 p.m., 6 a.m. We give them a special rate. So it also helps us level our peaks, level our demand, and it's a good thing for us. And we look at it as a tremendous economic development tool to add these buses. If we could get the 23 that Bradley is talking about, that would be tremendous. And I think we'll get there. We're just taking the baby steps with these school districts. We only serve 3 school districts. So when you look at 11 buses over 3 school districts, it's tremendous for us.
Yeah, you've come a long way in a short time. Travis, I know you're also looking at the electric school bus batteries and how they can be used possibly as portable power sources when they're not transporting the kids. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you see there?
Yes, we've actually have our first school district that got the electric buses was Knox County R1 School District, which is in rural Edina, Missouri. Their school district is actually served by us, by the co op, but directly across the highway is one of our long term skilled care facilities, a nursing home, as we call them here in Missouri. It's served by an investor owned utility. The school district is actually working with that nursing home that does not have any type of backup generators, looking at opportunities to maybe in times of a storm when school's not in session, if the investor owned utility would lose power, drive these buses that are charged across the road and be able to, energize these life saving and life supporting measures they offer there at the nursing home. And, if they could do that, it would be tremendous for both the school district and the nursing home.
That would be amazing. Bradley, what advice would you give to other co ops that will soon be having electric school buses in their territory?
One of the first things is just start this process early. Build that relationship with your community members, with your school districts. Get to know the people that you need to talk with. Meet with the transportation directors, meet with the superintendents, meet with those that are going to be involved with the process, and try to gain as much understanding as you can about what their needs are, what potential projects may be there in advance for them. And from that, just try to prepare yourself as much as possible. Educate yourself, educate your co-op, educate your members, and educate them. So just going through the process together, learning, educating yourself, and just be prepared. There's going to be uncertainty. There's going to be changes. You just have to be adaptive. Co-ops are usually very good at that, doing what we can for our members. And that's just a lot of the advice that I would have for everyone.
That's great. Travis, I wanted to ask you the same question. What advice would you have?
My advice would right along the same line as what Bradley said is the education part of it, but also get the communities involved, get the bus drivers involved, get the school boards involved, educate them. There's a lot of skepticism among people out there, and without being able to touch, feel, and see, like I said earlier, the best thing you can do is if you can host an open house and get one of the bus companies to actually bring one of the buses, give rides, drives, let the community members, the school board members, the faculty, and most importantly, the bus drivers learn about these things. The touch, feel, sense part of this thing made a tremendous difference for us. And as far as educating people, if you can get the education of those people and the buy-in from the communities behind these things, it will overcome all the skepticism out there.
Okay, great conversation. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
And thanks to you, our listeners, and our sponsor, Pivot. For more on this and other podcasts, visit us at electric.coop. Until next time, for Along Those Lines, I'm Erin Kelly.
I'm Courtney Cobb from Central Electric Cooperative in Redmond, Oregon. Thanks for listening to Along Those Lines. Subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast app.